Why is it that when you grow up, you go to school, you dedicate your life to school, and yet by the time you're done, you realize no one ever really prepared you for the things that matter most? I remember my high school years flying by, and I was always so confused. Teachers would ask, "What career do you want to focus on after graduation?" And yes, of course, that's important. But for me, I never had a clear idea of any job I wanted to do. All I knew in my heart was that one day I wanted to get married and to have kids. That was my dream. But I never saw that as an option. It wasn't something that was celebrated or something that anyone told me was valuable. It felt like the only acceptable answers were doctor, lawyer, teacher, engineer, jobs that sounded good on paper, but never resonated with me. So for a long time, I thought something was wrong with me. Like maybe I didn't have enough ambition, or maybe I was just lost. But deep down, I wasn't lost at all. I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted to pour my life into my own family, into my future kids, into a home that felt warm and full of love. But because no one around me talked about that as a worthy path, I tucked it away and kept it quiet. And I think that's something a lot of women go through. We're told to chase achievements, to climb ladders, to prove ourselves in the world. And while that's good and admirable for many, it doesn't mean that choosing to be at home, raising children, shaping the next generation is any less valuable. In fact, I would argue it's the most important work of all. After high school, I just continued working that same 9-to-5 job I had. And one day I thought to myself, you know what? I need a break. I need to just get away. So I decided to take a vacation to my hometown in Mexico. At the time, I couldn't even explain why. I just felt empty inside, like something was missing. And that trip changed everything. Out of nowhere, I met my husband. I can't explain the feeling, but it was like God knew exactly who I needed in my life. And I'll be honest, our marriage hasn't been perfect. No marriage is, but I look back and realize how God's hand was in it all along. I'll probably share more details about how we met another time, but from the very beginning, there was this peace in my heart, like God was saying, this is the one. And still in the back of my mind, I struggled. I had those doubts because the world tells you just being a wife isn't important. And I wondered sometimes, am I really going to get married? Am I really choosing the right path? What's even crazier is that my husband and I never had those deep conversations people say you should have, about marriage plans, about how many kids you want, about all the little details. It's like everything just started forming together on its own. And I truly believe that's because God already had a plan for us. Everyone always says, date around, meet people, talk about your future. And of course, that can be important. But I've learned that sometimes you just have to put your full trust in God's hands. And He'll work things out in ways you never could have imagined. When I met my husband, after just a month of knowing each other, we became boyfriend and girlfriend. And then another crazy part, after only 2 months of knowing each other, he asked me to marry him. It sounds wild, right? But somehow it just felt right. It didn't make sense on paper, but in my heart, I knew it was exactly what was meant to be. When my husband and I were still just boyfriend and girlfriend, everything felt perfect. It really was love at first sight, that butterfly feeling, that spark. But once we got married, it felt like everything changed. Suddenly, I found myself thinking, is this really my life now, marriage? And honestly, it wasn't just my own thoughts. It was also the voices around me. So many people talk about marriage as if it's miserable, as if it's a burden instead of a blessing. And little by little, those voices started to creep into my head. I started doubting my role as a wife, and especially as a housewife. And then during that first year of marriage, something happened that truly broke us. We lost our fraternal twins, something we were so excited about, something we had prayed for and dreamed of was suddenly taken from us. It shattered our hearts, and it definitely had a negative effect on our marriage. We were grieving deeply, and grief has a way of pulling people apart. But somehow, even through that season, we kept talking, we kept praying, we cried out to God, and slowly we started to find our way back. It wasn't easy, but I believe that trial strengthened us in ways we didn't even understand at the time. Even after a while, that difficult time, I still carried those doubts. I let those outside voices echo in my head. And I truly believe that's how the enemy works, planting lies, creating distance, filling our hearts with fear. But one day I stopped and remembered who my husband was. I remember the man who made me fall in love, the man who chose me. And I realized I truly had the best husband. No, he isn't perfect. None of us are. But together we put in the work. And little by little, our love has grown so strong. And I'll share more personal details another time, but there was one moment that really changed my perspective forever. It was the day we baptized our first goddaughter, Maria. I will never forget the priest's words. He said, "Being a mother is the most valuable, the hardest, and the most rewarding job you could ever have." And when I heard that, it hit me. I thought to myself, yes, that's exactly what I needed to hear growing up, because no one had ever told me that before. No one had ever said that being a mom was something to honor, something to be proud of. And in that moment, I felt so much peace. I realized I wasn't just a wife or just a mom. I was walking in the most important calling God had ever placed on my life. So if you're listening to this, I just want to tell you, from one woman to another, from one mom to another, if you ever feel that doubt, if you ever feel unvalued, just know that you are doing the most valuable work in the world. And if you're someone who's been wondering or maybe needing that extra push to become a stay-at-home mom or wife, let this be that encouragement. Do it. Seriously, just do it. Society will always tell you no. They'll tell you it's not good enough, that you're losing your independence, that you're just working for another man. But no, you're not working for him. You're working with him. You're a team he's building into your marriage, and so are you. And don't ever doubt that. Don't ever let anyone make you feel like what you're doing isn't important, because being a stay-at-home mom isn't just a job, it's a calling, and it's the most valuable one there is. Thank you guys so much for watching. I would love if you stick around, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!